Hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm reviewing the Redmi A7 Pro. It's a new budget model. Although it's called Pro, don't let that fool you. Because this phone is actually stripped down to its bare essentials. Yes, it has a large 6.9-inch screen, a massive 6000 mAh battery, and 8 GB of RAM. But the 4+4 part is a 4 GB RAM and 64 GB of internal storage. Can you imagine? A super budget phone, 4.64 GB. Also, what are they telling us here? That it has a 13-megapixel camera, Google services, and a cool design. Let's open the box. This is what the box looks like. It has a 6000 core display and performance. The box opens like this. It's made of thin cardboard. I decided to get the phone in a funky color. It comes in different colors, but I wanted the brightest and coolest one. It's orange. It's such an orange yellow and, so sunny. It reminds me of a sandy beach in summer. By the way, the back cover design looks really nice. I like how Redmi tries to come up with some new design. In the budget segment, a beautiful back cover, and in the more expensive budget segment, they just have dull black covers that are uninteresting. But in the budget segment, well, look how beautiful it looks. Yes, the phone is really cool. And this camera frame, and the frame that differs from the color of the back cover. And this coating really looks like some kind of sand. It's really cool. I really liked the design here. There's a dual camera, a flash, a power button on the right, an internal scanner. This frame is, of course, made of plastic, not aluminum. The volume button is on the left side. The S-card tray. There is absolutely nothing at the top. The camera protrudes slightly. Well, there's a charging port and a headphone jack at the bottom. They even left the speaker and microphone. The phone comes with a fast charger, though it's not as powerful as I'd like. A Type-C cable. How much is it? 18 watts? Most likely, yes, or how much? 15 W, right? A small, compact 15-watt charger. And they also included a transparent silicone case at the very bottom. Look how huge this phone is. It's truly gigantic. Just look, compare it to my hand. A gigantic phone. And what do they tell us on the front? Redmi A7 Pro, 6.9, 6000, powered by Xiaomi HyperOS, 8 cores, high-performance processor. That's the most interesting thing. What do they mean by high-performance processor? What does that mean? How do they classify it? That it's a high-performance processor? The case design is stylish, but I can definitely say that they weren't lying. A truly stylish case design. And a 13-megapixel camera, 2 cameras with AI, with artificial intelligence, but they didn't put a screen protector on it. For some reason, they still have this distinctive feature. They never put a screen protector on the most affordable Redmi A3s, the A1, and I remember the A2 too. I don't know why. A screen protector probably costs pennies. That's it. Okay, I'm removing all the unnecessary stuff for now. The package is clear. There's a case, a fast charger, a charging cable, and a paperclip to open the SIM card tray. By the way, we haven't looked at the SIM card tray yet, but as for the screen protector or glass, it's better to just buy the glass and apply it yourself to the screen to avoid breaking it. Also, the SIM card tray is 2+1. You can put a flash drive in there, and it fits in just fine. Because 64 GB of internal memory is extremely limited. Well, you can at least use the camera app to save photos to a flash drive and at least not take up the phone's internal memory, which is where apps will be installed. So the phone is as simple as possible, let's say, as budget-friendly as possible. And now let me show you how much it costs. You're probably wondering how much such a model could cost now. This is a new model. It's just starting to go on sale. And it's not available in all stores yet. Well, depending on when you're watching this video. But now I'll show you its official price. Yes, guys, here it is, HyperOS greeting me. Here, guys, is the new product. It says it's new, but the price puts me off a little. It costs 10,500 rubles, but this version is a little better than mine, with 128 gigabytes, but still 10,500. 3 colors to choose from. Orange, like mine, this blue, and black. 3 colors. But I think my orange one looks the brightest and most interesting. And how much does the 64 GB version cost? Like mine. It costs 9,000 rubles. So, yes, you can get 128, you can get 64, but see for yourself, the RAM capacity doesn't change. So if you get 4128, it will also have 4 GB of RAM And the 64GB version also has 4GB of RAM. Well, now I'll set up this phone and continue the video. Let's see how it glows when you point the flash at it. You see, right? What kind of coating is this? Like some kind of metallic, speckled, grainy finish. Redmi A7 Pro. Well, I've set up the phone. Look how big the bottom bezel is. There's a teardrop notch at the top for the front camera. The bezels are pretty big, but it's still cool. I don't know why, but it's such a huge, gigantic, wide, bright screen. With IPS technology, you can't even tell it's a budget screen. They've overcompensated for that with these rich, beautiful wallpapers. So the length is 171.6 millimeters. That's practically longer than any modern phone. A really long phone. The width is 79.5 millimeters. The thickness is 8.2 millimeters. The phone weighs 208 grams. It supports 2 SIM cards. It has an IPS screen. Of course, there's no AMOLED. Because of this, the scanner is located in the power button. It's the same here, just like it was on phones before. The scanner works generally well. I have no complaints about it. There's face unlock. It works pretty well too. So with such a large diagonal, the resolution is low. 1600 by 720 pixels. That gives about 254 pixels per inch. And this is roughly the tablet-like pixel per inch ratio. That is, most modern phones also have a higher pixel per inch ratio. Because of this, if you look closely at the screen, you'll see the pixels, the pixel grid. Ah, and it's really noticeable. It's really hard to get such a high resolution on such a large screen. The pixels are already visible, but at the same time, this has its advantages. It's energy efficient, this resolution uses less power, and a screen with this resolution uses less battery. The refresh rate here, by the way, is high, 120 Hz. And this is already a trend, no one makes screens with almost 60 Hz anymore. Even the most budget-friendly manufacturers still try to make it 120 Hz just to have it, because apparently it sells the phone better than the same higher resolution, Full HD. And 120 Hz is written on the box. That's it. People think everything will run smoothly. The animations are smooth, the screen is smooth, but it feels like I've gotten used to 120 Hz or something. But it's like, these 120 Hz here, well, I wouldn't say it's a huge hit. Well, no, it feels smoother than 60 Hz. Well, damn, somehow it still feels smoother on more expensive phones, honestly. Although this is not bad for this price range for this processor, which we'll talk about later. Overall, the phone is big, huge. If you've used small phones before, this will feel like a tablet, a mini tablet. The screen is really huge. I don't know why they're so keen on making super budget phones with huge screens and low resolutions. It's just some kind of love between POC, Redmi, and Xiaomi. Well, basically, Xiaomi is making phones like this now. Why can't they make 6.5? I don't know, let me know in the comments, guys. But it has Android installed. This is good because it's the latest version of Android. Therefore, all apps are installed here. If any finicky apps require the latest version of Android, this one has the latest, 16. The only question is how often it will be updated and whether it will even get a new Android version at all. But I hope it will at least once. And security patches should arrive regularly. My 64GB version is the cheapest. Yes, the OS version is HyperOS 3. So many Redmi phones still haven't received HyperOS 3, but this one comes with it out of the box, and that's a plus. It even says it has UFS 2.2 storage. But we'll check that now, because it's hard to believe with these specs. But it is indeed true, because 615 MB read and 116 MB write are faster than eMMC. The NFC module is for contactless payments, for example. You can't use this feature here because there's no NFC module. They cut corners and didn't install it. Oh well. What kind of processor is this? It's not a Helio G99, let me tell you right away. It's not a MediaTek at all, nor a Helio G85. It's a UISoC Tiger Uniso T7250. What kind of processor is this? In fact, it's very close in specs to the Helio G85, and even simpler. It's also a 12-core chip. It also consists of 6 cores, plus 2 Cortex-A5, plus Cortex-A75. But the clock rate is lower at 1800 and 1600. This processor doesn't throttle and consumes little power, but it doesn't support 5G. It's 4G only. It has a pretty weak graphics core, meaning you naturally won't be able to play games at maximum graphics. This one has a Mali G57, which, as I understand it, is a single-core MP1. That is, it's purely needed to display images and watch videos, but you can play even the most basic games or even 3D games at the lowest graphics settings. But, of course, there's no future-proofing here. AID even states that the display is 90 Hz. For some reason, I also get the feeling from this phone that it's unfair, as if it's 120 Hz. I don't know how to explain it, but I see it. I know what 120 Hz is. And, for example, take the flagship Vivo iPhone. Flagships with 120 Hz display performance is different than this 120 Hz phone, but it doesn't feel that way. I'm wondering if this really is some kind of overclocked 90 Hz display, because even AID states it's 90 Hz. It really feels like, yeah, I'd say it's 90. I compared it to 60, a little smoother, but definitely not twice as much. That's an interesting situation. How does it score in Antutu in the new version, Antutu 11? You know, when the new version came out, all the scores went up. So if the Helio G99 used to score 400, it started scoring 600, 650 in the new version. The Helio G85 used to score 200, 250, and then it started scoring 400. And now in the new version, it scores 375,000, but that's the same as the previous 200. So it's essentially a little, very little. It's weaker than the Helio G85, the Helio G99. That's a processor for basic tasks. Previously, this hardware was used in Android Go versions of phones, a stripped-down version with simplified Google services so as not to take up too much RAM. It's full-fledged Android, full-fledged HyperOS, but it works, surprisingly. I'm using the phone, and it's pretty snappy. I wouldn't say it's exactly fast, but there's no lag or slowdown either. Maybe because it's new, the memory isn't saturated yet, and it's still running the correct firmware so it handles everything. But I really don't feel any weakness in the processor yet. And by the way, I also have RAM expansion disabled. Actually, you can enable it. Well, of course, this won't replace the constant 4 GB of RAM. It's just a marketing gimmick. Well, I don't think it helps me much. Battery. There are several operating modes. By the way, about the battery. There's a battery health indicator. More precisely, not even the health indicator, how many times you've charged it, the temperature, but for some reason it doesn't show the exact percentage of battery life, like on iPhones or other Xiaomi phones. This is really weird, because other Redmi and Xiaomi phones show this. This one doesn't. It just shows the temperature and the number of charges. What do you mean, the number of charges today? What's this weird indicator? Why do I even need it? I'd like to see the total number of charges over the phone's entire lifespan, so I can understand how much battery life is left. I have an older phone here, a Redmi Note 15, and you can see that under battery protection there's battery status, cycles, manufacturing date, and first use. For some reason, none of that is here. On the A7 Pro, oh well. And what kind of throttling is going on here? There was no throttling at all in the 15-minute throttling test. The graph is green, but that's not surprising. Testing a game in PUBG Mobile. In short, I downloaded the regular PUBG Mobile, not the light version. But the graphics, of course, you can see that the draw distance isn't great, but the screen is big. The most important thing is that it has a big screen, like a mini tablet. The game is comfortable, and the phone is comfortable to hold, but if you're playing with wired headphones, you'll be covering it with your hand. You can flip this headphone jack over, but then you'll be covering the speaker. Although the speaker isn't really needed, if you're wearing headphones, basically it's either the speaker or the headphones. It's good that they at least left the headphone jack. And there's very light IP52 dust protection, but that's really lightweight. They practically don't make that anymore. The sound isn't stereo. It comes only from the bottom speaker, but they boosted it to 200% to make it louder. And I wouldn't say it's particularly loud even with the boost, it's just average. You see, there are some minor clipping issues in the game. The low resolution and poor picture quality make everything a bit blurry, but overall, it's playable. And most importantly, the phone won't heat up, and its battery life will last a long time in this mode. Yeah, I'm not used to it. Uh-oh. Just take something, anything. Where is he? Where is he running? What's going on? Where is he? Where was he? He was somewhere around here. He's probably on the second floor. It's dangerous, guys. I can hear his footsteps. Where is he running? Ha! Who's that guy chasing after me? Some kind of assistant or something? Let's go up to the 3rd floor. Maybe he's here. Oops, another one. That's how this game goes. Okay, now about the camera. 13 megapixel main camera, plus 0.08 megapixels. Second camera, basically, it's just for quantity, and there's a flash on the back. 8 megapixel front camera. So the classic 13 plus 8 setup. This is what all super budget phones use now. There's an even simpler 13 plus 5. And there's a really weird option that's practically never seen. 8 plus 5. But here, 13 plus 8 is still pretty good. The rear camera has an aperture of f2.2, the front camera has f2.0. The main sensor is 1 versus 1. Sensors like these are usually found in wide-angle lenses these days, and even larger ones, or in telephoto lenses. Basically, it's a very small sensor. You can even see it in the camera's pupil. The camera itself is very small, a budget, basic camera. Naturally, there's no talk of any great video recording here. No 4K. Only Full HD or HD 30 FPS. That's it, nothing else. There's no stabilization either, neither optical nor electronic. Video recording on the front camera is also Full HD 30 FPS, but for some video calls, for example, that's quite enough. That is, and the person you're talking to will see you just fine. That is, well, it'll do. By the way, surprisingly, the front camera takes decent photos. I expected it to be worse, but it really does take decent photos. 8 megapixels. I'd even say it's not that much of a difference from, say, the base Redmi Note 15. It delivers roughly the same quality. I'm serious. There's no huge amount of noise, it's just a generally decent standard camera, not a flagship one, but you can't say it was made for a phone that costs $8,500 or $8,900. It's okay. The rear camera is 13 megapixels. It already has autofocus. It already has a flash. And that's the quality it delivers. Look, it's actually okay here, by the way, but there's a certain yellowish effect to the colors, a yellowish orange. So you see, the color rendition is like on budget phones, but not quite accurate. And then there's the red color, it also tints it a bit. It turns out that the lips are a bit too reddish. So the color rendition here leans toward warmer tones. It looks like photos taken with an old phone, or a phone with the sepia effect turned on. Something like that. There's a night mode here, but it doesn't turn on automatically. You have to force it by pressing the night button, like on other, more expensive, modern models. If it gets dark, the phone automatically detects it and turns on night mode. That doesn't happen here. You have to turn on night mode manually. HDR. What about HDR? There's Auto HDR, though, yes, look. There's Auto HDR. You can turn it off completely. You can even add a watermark. That's pretty cool. I wonder if anyone will put a watermark on the Redmi A7 Pro so everyone can see what you did with the A7 Pro. Well, it's interesting, actually. Usually, they put thermal marks like these on fancy flagships to show everyone what the photo was taken with. Well, here you'd put a thermal mark just to see the date when the photo was taken, or, by the way, look at how many watermarks there are, just like on a flagship. Well, I don't know, maybe someone will want to add a watermark. Okay, so let's see how it takes photos at night. Oh, and by the way, the maximum zoom. Well, naturally, there's no wide angle or telephoto zoom here, obviously. The maximum zoom is 10x, but I don't think the neural networks will be able to catch up here, especially with a processor like that. Oh, it doesn't even want to focus. No, it focused. 10x, so I don't think there's any super processing here. But there you go, yeah, it's fine for a budget phone. Well, you can't see anything here. So, night mode. Basically, night mode is just there for show. It doesn't work, I'll tell you that. This was taken in night mode. This one, too. Then I think, well, it's too dark. Night mode can't be like this. Everything is dark, you can't see anything. I took these two photos in night mode, then I turn it off, take them in auto mode, and look, everything is the same. That is, the photos are absolutely the same. This is without night mode, this is with night mode. So in essence, I'm concluding that it simply doesn't exist. They decided to make this setting, but in reality, nothing changes. The photos are no different. It's better to simply take a photo in night mode, in normal mode for example, yes, and then edit it in the editor, that is, add brightness like this. This will be much more effective than turning on night mode and trusting the phone. Well, it's just that these phones, you have to understand that a phone for $10,000, of course, won't be able to give you a picture at night like a phone for $20,000, $30,000. Well, at least that's what I got out of it. There. Well, it's better, of course, not to take photos of this phone at night, because it's not designed for that with this camera. The sensor is very small, very little light reaches it, the aperture is f2.2, which is also something, but we don't take photos at night. So we either take photos of something in the dark, but with a flash, so the object you're photographing is close enough for the flash to illuminate it, or take photos during the day. When there's plenty of light, then the photos will still turn out okay. Another thing, maybe someone will use it as students, yes, school children, they need to take photos of their notes. How does it photograph text? Well, for example, small text is right on the box. I take it and take a photo. This is the standard 13 megapixel mode. There's no increased resolution here, 50 megapixels, and the text in notes, in textbooks, will be photographed normally. That is, the clarity is preserved. There. So, yes, for studying, well, you can use it. You can use it if you often photograph documents. Guys, maximum volume. That's how it screams. Can you hear it, right? I close one speaker, that's it, nothing else plays. Moscow, but it's so raspy, a bit loud. Volume is an A-. Sound quality at maximum volume is a C. If you turn the volume down, the quality is also a C. Well, in short, the volume is an A- or even a B, and the quality is a C. Look how interesting it tries to make things with apps like Dynamic Island. But the phone is a droplet, and it turns out to be Dynamic Island inside the droplet as if it's grown into it. It looks strange. In short, that's how it is. Well, the sound here is also pretty basic. The battery is 6,000? I'd like more. I always want more. Especially with such a large case and a battery this thick and heavy, I think a 10,000 mAh one would fit here. Well, when Honor makes things, well, they decided to limit it to 6,000 mAh. Besides, it doesn't have the high power consumption of flagships. It has an HD screen, a weak processor, and no 5G. Well, this is a basic phone, so a 6,000 mAh battery will definitely last a day. You can even get through a day and a half or two with it if you use power saving mode, but it should definitely last a day, under load. Well, naturally, there's no wireless charging. I think that's no secret. Wireless charging is a rare exception in phones like this. That's why this one only charges via a 15W wired connection. It's powerful charging. And even then, it'll take a long time to charge with that charger because it's not the fastest. There are much more powerful chargers out there now. In short, what conclusion can we draw? What's the verdict on this phone? And who would we recommend it to? The phone is suitable for those who simply need a phone. It has the largest possible screen for a small price, good battery life, and a familiar interface for those who have already used the Redmi Xiaomi POC, so there's no need to adjust or relearn anything new. It's already HyperOS, everything is clear and familiar, but it does have its downsides. There are a lot of ads and a lot of unnecessary apps. I've already deleted and disabled some. This phone needs some tweaking. It's not a flagship, it's not fast. And then there are all those extra notifications and ads. They slow everything down a bit and eat up RAM, so it's better to enable them all. Of course, this super entry-level phone for $26 is really top-notch, you could say, an ultra-budget phone. Really, what could have been cut here? Everything here is already as cheap as possible. So the phone's technology is roughly from 2017, in my opinion. But the only thing that gives it away is the 120Hz display and the fact that it's a new design, although the design, in principle, can't be said to be related to the current year of release. And then there's the new interface, the new version of Android. So judging by the front appearance, well, it's not the 197, of course I'm exaggerating, but somewhere around 1910, so that's probably the conclusion you can draw. So who should I recommend it to? People who need the simplest, cheapest work phone possible, who need to install 5-10 essential apps and that's it, and who don't spend all day on the phone, playing games, taking photos every day, and, yes, opening the camera 10 times. Well, they need a camera, open it a couple of times a week, take a photo, because that's the most important thing. And that's it. That's the phone I got. Good luck to everyone. See you soon. That was the Redmi A7 Pro. However, if you look at the development of this line, it still gets better little by little. Not by huge leaps, but if you compare it to the A1 and A2, the phones are still getting a little bit better. Good luck to everyone. Bye everyone. Bye.